YouTubers, welcome back to AZ2 Ozarks. It is a beautiful fall day and here are our cattle. Well, our grass still is not optimal as we have only lived here for 1 year so far, and so we are finding ourselves short of grass for feeding the cattle and certainly short for getting through the winter. We've now had 2 nights of frost and we don't expect the grass to be growing much more. We have approximately 35 acres of cleared land, and we have been doing rotational grazing where the cattle get approximately 1 to 2 acres new paddock each day to graze on. We have acquired a whole bunch of hay, enough to make it through the winter, feeding them a half a hay bale a day. However, we would rather not have to use that, and we'd like to continue rotational grazing. And so that brings us to our video today. We have worked, actually the guys, Rick and Keegan, yesterday were forging a path over to the neighbor's property. So our good friends from Lake Havasu City, Arizona, purchased the neighboring 92 acres, which is almost all cleared, and they are not yet running cattle and don't intend to at this point, and so they are going to lease their acreage to us. There is another farmer, another neighbor, who was previously leasing that property, and he had his cattle on there. His lease ended on November 1st, and so he's no longer using that, and his cattle are moved off of the property after November 1st, and so now we will have access to it. Unfortunately, it's been pretty heavily grazed down, but we needed a path to get over to that property. So what I'm walking on is a new path that Rick and Keegan cleared yesterday. They came through with the chainsaw and were cutting down trees, and they were also using the tractor to clear out the brush off of this path. And you may recall in one of our videos when we were looking for property to purchase, there was one that we particularly, well, I particularly liked, and it was because it had forest walking paths. And I thought that was so cool to be able to have a semi-cleared area where you can walk through the forest and just kind of feel like you're in nature, but not have the ticks jumping all over you and fewer spiders, that kind of thing. Fortunately, we're moving into the winter now, and so we don't have the same tick pressure that we did have a month or 2 ago, so that's really nice. But at the same time, having this forest path checks off one more thing that I really liked in property. And so this is really neat. Plus, it gives a path directly over to my girlfriend's property, so we can walk back and forth without having to go out to the main road. We fancied ourselves walking back and forth and meeting each other for picnics and fun girl things like that. They don't yet have a house on their property, but they are working with a builder in order to do that. But like everything else, there's long delays and supply shortages and things like that. But this is my first time on this path. I had to go to a meeting yesterday for the farmer's market, and so I hadn't seen this path after they cleared it. But so far, it is so pretty. I don't know if it's coming across in the video how beautiful this is. And look at this wacky tree right here. I'm glad they left this one. Looks like they needed to trim it up a little bit, but that's cool with the moss growing on it. All right. So it looks like we are approaching the property line up here. So here it was just the fence, barbed wire fence, and the guys opened that up, braced it It looks like they set a post over here, and then they brought up an old gate that was on our property and put in a gate. So then we can literally just walk the cattle right over here to their new grazing land on just the other side of those trees there. But there's also a road and a path that's here going right down into the pasture. You gonna get that, Louie? Nice. Are we walking down there? You can see that the foliage on the trees is all changing for the fall. And it's so pretty with the oranges and yellows and reds. It's just really beautiful right now. So this is really neat. It's quiet out here. No main roads near us. Here we are on the road on our friend's property. It's obviously not a road, but it's a cleared area that's along the fence line. That way you can always maintain fence and have access that way. It's not a very thick or dense forest over here to the right before you reach the cleared pasture area. Isn't that sun shining through the trees so pretty? Here we are coming out from the path into the clearing. And ta-da! There's pasture, and a whole lot of it. So it's a little bit short right now. Obviously, someone else had their cattle grazing, and we're just now getting access, but in years future, it will be very nice to have 92 additional acres to graze off of. And even better is that it's our friends right next door. So we can walk the cattle down here without having to go out to the road, and there's a series of gates that we can use and our electric fence for separating paddocks. All around, it's a good setup. So that is our new forest path from our property to our neighbors. Very exciting. How about you tell me what you think about it? Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to keep following our adventure.